And, you know, at the center of the Henry Gates arrest is the question of racial profiling. Did it play a role in the case? Although many police departments claim they work hard to root out biased behavior in their units, for many African Americans, racial profiling is a constant fear. And ABC Senior Justice Department correspondent Pierre Thomas has this report.
Even in 2009, some blacks have sobering advice for their children about dealing with police.
Be polite in front of the police. Your life may depend on it.
Paul Butler, a Harvard-educated former federal prosecutor, recalls being arrested in front of his home after a dispute with a neighbor over a parking space. Locked up, no questions asked.
The police came out, they saw a black man, and as soon as they saw me, it's like they wanted to arrest. They didn't even want to listen to what I had to say.
Though there's been progress in race relations, encounters between blacks and the police remain complicated.
The first thing that goes through a black person's mind is that they suspect that they were racially profiled. That's just the reality of the situation.
Why? History, painful memories of the civil rights movement, and today's reality, black males incarcerated at roughly 7 times the rate of white males. In a recent ABC News poll, 76% of blacks say African Americans in their community do not receive equal treatment from police as whites. Hotel manager Scott Newman remembers an unpleasant stop by the police.
Pulled over for no reason whatsoever, not speeding, and they just unpacked my entire car for no reason at all, looking for drugs or something, but found nothing.
Victoria Bostic remembers growing up in New Jersey.
The officers were very vigilant about, African Americans, people of color in general. I mean, you saw it all the time. I mean, they were always being pulled over. So I cautioned my daughter.
Her instructions for interacting with the police?
Do not get sarcastic. Do not be, over the top. Be respectful.
And then, some blacks say, hope for the best. For Good Morning America, Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
And for more on this, we're joined by Lieutenant Charles Wilson, chairman of the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Officers from Greenville, Rhode Island. Good morning, Lieutenant.
Good morning.
President Obama has said that both Professor Gates and Sergeant Crowley, in his view, overreacted. Do you agree?
Yes, I do. I believe that both parties could have de-escalated the situation much earlier in the incident.
Do you think that Sergeant Crowley would have behaved the same way had Professor Gates been white?
I can't say that specifically. I wasn't there, obviously. Don't know the officer, have never met him. I understand he's a very capable, very competent police officer. So I can't tell you that as an absolute fact that, yes, that would have occurred.
President Obama, in his book, The Audacity of Hope, spoke about what he called the usual litany of petty slights that he as an African American has experienced. Those include, in the president's view, security guards tailing me as I shop in department stores, white couples who toss me their car keys as I stand outside a restaurant waiting for the valet, police cars pulling me over for no apparent reason. That likely formed the president's initial reaction on Wednesday. Certainly, I don't need to tell you how African Americans might feel when hearing about the Gates arrest, but what are you hearing from African Americans about it? You must be torn in some ways as a police officer who's African American.
Obviously. People that I've spoken to have been very, both sides. The law enforcement officers I speak to have been very strongly in support of Sergeant Crowley. The people from the community that I've spoken to have been exceptionally strongly in support of Dr. Gates. What both sides have to understand is that there were mistakes made by both parties.
What do you say to those critics who say the ones who were racially profiling were the ones assuming that Sergeant Crowley was being racist because he's a white man?
I don't see this as having been an issue of racial profiling. Is race a factor in everything that we do as law enforcement officers? I will tell you yes. It's one of the most recognizable attributes of everybody that we stop. You never say, I'm out with a male. You always say, I'm out with a black male, a white male, a Hispanic male, whatever. So it does play a part in just about everything we do. Was this specifically an issue of racial profiling? I don't think so.
All right, Lieutenant Wilson, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Sure.